Alrighty, I'm going to get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ask Me Anything session, admission session to UBC Engineering for international applicants. Thank you for joining us here today to learn more about our programs and maybe get some of your questions answered as well. My name is Franco Fung. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a student recruitment officer at the UBC Vancouver campus. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land that UBC Vancouver's campus stands on, a place where we work, learn, and connect and innovate, is on the unceded ancestral and traditional territories of the Musqueam peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you may be joining us from all around the world, from many different places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. I would now like to pass it over to my colleague, Kyle.
Thank you, Franco. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this session today. My name is Kyle. I'm an engineering advisor on the Okanagan campus with UBC Engineering. And I would also like to acknowledge that UBC's Okanagan campus is situated on the territory of the Silk Okanagan Nation and their peoples. We are so excited to have you here today. And it's not just Franco and myself that are here for this presentation. We're actually joined by some current UBC engineering students. Rosine and Juliana are going to be here to share some information on their UBC experiences and be here available for questions as well. We also have Anna joining us, and I'll kick it over to Anna to say hi to everyone.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am also at UBC Vancouver, and I'm one of the engineering academic advisors. So if you come to our campus, you'll be closely in touch with myself and my colleagues with the engineering academic services throughout your first year. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna. So in today's session, we are going to be starting off with some information on UBC, our engineering program and admissions. This is hopefully to get you thinking, get your thoughts stimulated a little bit, to generate some questions. The main point of this session is to answer questions for you. Ask me anything, ask us anything. So you have staff, faculty, current students that are here. That's the point. So in this first half of the presentation, take some notes. Write down some stuff that inspires you or you're intrigued by, or maybe you're not quite sure about, because we will have plenty of time towards the end for questions and answers to be shared. So if you choose to join us at UBC, you'll be joining a university which is globally recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, as well as its global impact. Our World University Rankings ranks UBC as #2 in Canada as a university, #2 in Canada as an engineering program, #1 in industry and innovation. All sorts of rankings that are out there on the national stage, on the global stage. And what do all those rankings mean? Really, in short, two things. #1, you're going to get a world-class university and engineering experience while you're here as a student. And #2, when you finish our degree and move on and have to use that degree to help you get to the next level, your UBC engineering degree will be recognized. So pretty exciting stuff here. When we talk about UBC as an institution, we are one institution, one university, one application. We're issuing one undergraduate degree, but you have two campuses to choose from to complete that degree. We have the Okanagan campus, which is located in the city of Kelowna within the province of British Columbia in Canada. And we also have the Vancouver campus, which is kind of a city in itself on a peninsula just south of the city of Vancouver, also within the province of British Columbia and within the country of Canada. So what's cool about UBC is you have two campuses to choose from. UBC Engineering, we're one faculty with programs offered on both campuses. And our hope is that between both of those campuses, you can find a fit that works best for you, a feel that works best for you. So with the feel of each campus, it is quite different. Both campuses are representing UBC. They have their own equally prestigious and accredited programs where you're going to be learning and working with professors who are leaders in their fields. But no matter which campus you do start on within the engineering program, you're going to be starting in the foundational first year, which means all of our engineering students take the same first year courses that are crucial to your success, not only in our program, but your life after your undergraduate degree. So those first year courses, we're focusing on engineering design experience right off the bat in year one. We're also going to be doing some review of chemistry, mathematics, and physics, but applying university level content and engineering technical content to those topics. We also have some English course as well. And so it's a very targeted start to get you started on the right foot. Students often ask which campus is best for me, where should I go? We're the same faculty, we're issuing the same programs, but what those programs are could be unique. Civil engineering on the Okanagan campus takes a different set of upper level courses than civil engineering on the Vancouver campus. Maybe you're motivated by the program for which campus you want to choose, or maybe a program is only offered on one of those campuses, or maybe you're motivated by the campus itself, the culture, the surrounding areas, the adventure that's available, what interests are important to you. So consider that when you're checking out both campuses. We have virtual campus tours you can take for each campus to get a closer inside look of what the student experience looks like on both. Let's chat a little bit more about that first year foundational program. So no matter which campus you start on, no matter which major you're considering, UBC, we call those programs, but no matter which major or program you're considering, all UBC engineering students will take the first year foundational year. This is very important. Think of it as building your toolkit before you can go on and take those tools to build something larger. So we are going to be focusing on those engineering design courses, chemistry, math, physics, that are in there. You're going to be introduced to the design cycle right away in your first year courses, where you'll start to learn how to think like an engineer. You might have to work in a design team with colleagues that have multiple interests. Maybe you're partnering up with supervisors that are your faculty members. We're simulating real world engineering industry experience in those courses. And throughout that first year, you're going to have the opportunity to learn more about our engineering programs. So you may already know specifically the program or major that you want to pursue. Most students don't. They may be considering engineering or a different degree, or maybe they know I do want engineering, but I'm torn between mechanical and electrical. And what is the difference between the two? That is the kind of stuff you're going to learn in first year. So we take the pressure off, and first year is all about learning how to be a student, learning how to be successful at the university level, and learning how to be successful in engineering while you're being exposed to all the different specializations, programs, majors. And you'll get that experience in our lectures, in our laboratories, in our discussions, and we host multiple events to help educate you on those programs. When you finish your first year courses, towards the end of your first year, students will go through a process called second year placement. And that is now where you're going to be pursuing your specialization or your program. So let's take a look at those programs offered. On the Okanagan campus, there are 5 programs to choose from. These are commonly referred to as a major. You can see them on the screen there: civil engineering, computer engineering, and down the list we go. For the Okanagan campus, in comparison to Vancouver, we're a smaller campus, smaller student cohort. For that, we can guarantee you your first choice. If you're a UBC engineering student on the Okanagan campus and you want to pursue manufacturing engineering, that second year placement is you declaring which specialization you want to pursue. But again, this happens towards the end of your first year while you've been wrapping up those first year courses. On the Vancouver campus, we have those same 5 programs and 9 more: biomedical engineering, environmental engineering, mining engineering, lots more programs that are available here. So if we take a step back to which campus should I choose? Well, if you're really keen on materials engineering and that's only offered on the Vancouver campus, that could be your decision right there. You will also complete those same first year foundational courses towards the end of your first year. It's usually from March 15th to May 15th is the timeline. You'll go through the second year placement. Because there's more students, we have to go through a bit of a competitive process. If all of the first year students picked the same program as their first choice, there just wouldn't be enough seats. So we have to go through a bit of a process here. We will be looking at your GPA from first year, and you'll essentially rank your choices. We recommend you rank all 14 choices in the order of your preference, but you'll rank them. If you want materials as number 1 and you're really keen on that, But if you didn't get materials, what would be your second most interested program to go through? So that's the second year placement. You don't need to stress too much about that right now. You'll learn about that more in first year as you're going through, but it is helpful to know maybe a cluster of programs that you're interested in, to know which campuses they're offered on as you're making those decisions moving forward. One of the best things about pursuing a university degree is the chance to customize your degree. So if you're going to study at UBC and you're going to pursue engineering, you will have to major in something. You're going to have to pick one of those programs that's required. But you can do a whole bunch of other things to customize your degree that are, in other words, optional. But when customizing your degree, you can get involved with hands-on design. You can get involved with research. You can add on extra areas of studies like a minor or a dual degree, 2 majors, or you can add on options or concentrations, which is usually fourth year courses specialize in a particular area, maybe aerospace. You could study abroad, take some engineering equivalent courses at a different university in a totally different country. You could join one of our clubs at UBC, a design team. You could pursue co-op. Co-op is very popular in our program. There's lots of ways to customize your degree and make your student experience your own. All of these exciting things, though, these are all things you'd learn more about during first year, typically applying for in second year or later if there is an application. But some of the ones like dual degrees, maybe you apply for right away when you're first applying to UBC. So it doesn't hurt to start reading up on some of those options that are out there. UBC, we're a research institution. Our professors, why we get some of the best professors in the world in their field is because we are also funding their research. And you can get involved with that research and have that in your undergraduate degree experience. And a lot of our professors who are performing globally impacting, world-changing research, they're taking that learned information in their labs and applying it to the courses that they're teaching you right away in first year. So some really cool stuff that takes place. We had in our first year design courses last year, actually on both campuses, some design projects going on for how to mitigate or detect or prevent wildfires in British Columbia, and real world research that's taking place by these professors is being implemented into your coursework, into your design challenges, and you're learning how to affect change in a team-based engineering type environment. So really exciting stuff to look forward to throughout our degree. Let's chat about co-op. So co-op is very popular among engineering students and university students in general. Yes, it is available at UBC. There is co-op that's available to all students. And then separate from that, we have the applied science co-op that is available only to you engineering students. At UBC, we call that degree the Bachelor of Applied Science. That's what we call our engineering degree, but you'll often hear that reference of applied science. So co-op within engineering, you can apply your learned skills in the classroom into real world experience working for an employer in industry. It ranges usually from 16 to 20 months of full-time work experience where you're earning an industry standard wage, salary, money into your pocket to help pay for life at university. But you get that real world experience during your degree. It's very cool. So when you come out of that finishing degree, we talked about reputation earlier in the presentation, where your degree is going to be recognized around the world. Well, picture yourself having a UBC engineering degree plus professional work experience as an engineer, that co-op experience. You are now that much more competitive when you're applying for jobs. You're still going to have to do your part to find the job, put together a good resume, show well in the interview, and represent yourself well. But having those extra criteria with your UBC engineering degree and co-op could be very fruitful. Something that's really cool about co-op. In this year and prior years, our students had to compete for a limited number of seats, and that resulted in about 60% of our engineering students pursuing co-op. New for this upcoming year, no competitive application for limited seats. You need to just have a minimum GPA. So that first year set of foundational program courses we talked about, if you earn a 65% average or higher in those first year UBC engineering courses, you are now able to get into co-op. And it's amazing. So we're going to see a lot more students pursuing co-op, which is great. It opens up so much more opportunity for you through that co-op program. You'll go through some workshops and skill buildings ahead of time before you're then released to go and apply and compete for jobs. But co-op is very popular among engineering students. We're actually the largest co-op program in Western Canada, and it's a really big highlight. So hot topic. Happy to answer more questions about co-op later on in the presentation. Here's an example of some of our co-op experiences. So we've had positions in software development at Amazon. We've had positions in game design with Electronic Arts. There's so many that are out there. Tesla, Google, yes, all the top companies. Lots of questions are, okay, well, if I'm going to school at the Okanagan campus, can I only take a co-op position in the Okanagan? You can get a co-op position anywhere in the world. There may be other things associated like working visas and permits and stuff, but usually the employer and co-op office can assist with that. But just because you're studying at the Vancouver campus doesn't limit you to only taking a co-op position in the Vancouver area. You can potentially take a co-op position back in your home country, a different country, the other side of Canada. Really, the boundaries are flexible. You can move around. It's just about you finding that job and earning that position. Lots of questions come in when students are transitioning from high school or post-secondary into UBC. And oftentimes they say, am I going to fit in? How am I going to make friends? How am I going to find a community? You're creating a new home. If you're moving away from a totally different country, it can be very intimidating. It can be scary. You may know nobody in Canada or nobody in the Vancouver area. At UBC, one of the coolest things about our engineers, they come together very quickly. They find a community. They make a new family in a sense right away. If you're joining some of our orientation events that take place before first year classes start, like Jumpstart, where you can come in, move into campus, make some friends right off the bat, those are great opportunities. There's lots of orientation and community building opportunities that the campus offers for all students. And in addition to that, there's engineering specific ways like joining a design team or joining an engineering club, forming a study group in your lab of one of your first year courses, attending events held by one of the engineering societies on either campus. Our engineers come together very quick. You form a bond that ends up being your friends throughout the degree and beyond. You'll find that your friends you make in first year end up being your roommates in second year. And these friendships that you build, not only are they helpful for your social, but they're helpful for your academic success. You stick together, you support each other through the highs and lows of that first year. And yeah, lots of ways to find your community at UBC. There's over 400 student clubs on each campus, and you can really find a club that's right for you, whether it's based on interests related to food or hobbies or sports, culture. There's a club that's there for you. And if there isn't, you can start a club. Find a sponsor, Franco maybe, go up to Franco and he can help you start a club. We had a student on campus a few years ago. He thought there was a lack of hammocks available to lay in around campus to study. So he started a club, got the funding, had a fleet of hammocks to hang up around trees and study in between classes or take a nap in between classes. And that's a club. That is a club. They got funding for it. You can start a club. That's one of the super cool parts about UBC. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Franco. I've been talking more than enough here. Franco, welcome back. We're going to chat a little bit more about admissions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. So now that you know a little bit more about the UBC engineering experience at both campuses, let's talk about the application for international applicants and how you can join us. So overall, students should be planning, if you are in your final year of high school or in grade 12, you should be starting to plan your application right now. We always encourage applicants to apply as early if you can. So for example, if our admissions team require more information from you, then we have that additional time to be able to request that information from you. Now, for specific deadlines for our international applicants, if you have applied to the International Scholars Program Awards, now this deadline has already passed. This was a 2 weeks ago on November 15th. If you applied to this, then December 1st is your deadline to submit your application to UBC if you intend to start next fall. So that'd be fall 2025. Now, for everyone else who's planning to begin their studies in fall 2025, your application deadline is January 15th. Now, for other important dates that you should note in your calendar, you can scan the QR code on the screen right here. This will take you to our UBC admissions important dates and deadlines page, so you can start marking down some of those important dates. Now, there's a few ways that you can join us at UBC Engineering. So you'll see a few of those pathways there. The majority of our students who will join us will apply to us directly from UBC from high school to either campus. However, there might be some other admission routes that you might not be so familiar with. So for example, maybe you want to start at another university or college within British Columbia. We do offer transfer routes for students to apply into UBC Engineering. So we have some transfer agreements with local colleges, or if you maybe decide to study elsewhere, you can also, of course, apply to transfer later on to UBC as well. Now, for some of our international applicants, we do, as part of your admission requirements, you do also have to meet our English language standard. So for some of those students who may be academically qualified, but maybe do not meet the English language requirements, then there's also our pathway through Vantage College. So they also offer programming for students to be able to still study at UBC and then transfer into a UBC engineering program afterward as well. Now, I see in our chat and even in our Q&A, I'll get to that in just a second. We have some questions about admission requirements. So of course, our admission requirements will depend on where you are studying and your academic history as well. There are so many different curriculums from around the world. We won't be able to cover everything individually. However, you are able to find those full set of academic requirements from either campus on our website. So you can find those at u.ubc.ca. We'll have I'll put that on the screen in just a second. But overall, if you are interested in studying at UBC Engineering, typically the main academic requirements will include courses like English, chemistry, physics, and pre-calculus, all the grade 12 level or in your senior year of high school. So it's also important to note that these requirements are like a checklist and not specifically what admission will be based off of. So we will talk about how your application will be assessed. Now, in the Q&A, I did see that there's a few questions from one of our guests asking about admission requirements for our computer science program. One note, so our session today is covering the UBC engineering programs. Our computer science program is within our Faculty of Science. So if you are interested in learning more about the requirements for computer science, you can definitely check out our u.ubc.ca website. If you have further questions, I would encourage you also to reach out to our Faculty of Science advising team. Maybe a related program that you might be interested. We do offer computer engineering. Kyle had mentioned that in an earlier slide as well. Maybe that could be interesting to you. If you're interested in that, then of course, this session would be for you. But for computer science, that is with our Faculty of Science. So let's go back to how is your application assessed? Now, admission decisions are based on a combination of your academic profile and also your personal profile as well. A common question from applicants is, what grades do I need to get in? Now, getting good grades and high grades is one thing, but there's no guaranteed grade that I can share with you here today that will ensure that you get in. This depends on competition and this varies from year to year. But what I can tell you is that spending time on your personal profile and continuing to do as well as you can in all of your academic courses, that will help set you up, be the most competitive applicant to be prepared to have your application assessed. So I mentioned, how's your application assessed? We'll look at your academic profile and also your personal profile as well. So of course, your academic profile will look at both your overall and core academic assessment. These will consider all of your grade 11 and grade 12 academic courses, regardless of which year you took them. And of course, a focus will be on those grade 12 level courses, those senior courses, if available at the time of assessment. Now, if you are interested in studying in engineering, the core courses will include all the degree-specific courses that you saw on the last slide. So things like It will also include like academic courses such as like language arts, mathematics, computation, and sciences. Those are the core courses that we'll also be looking at as well. Now, that's the academic assessment. We'll also look at the personal profile. Now, the personal profile, if you haven't heard about it, this is your opportunity to let UBC know who you are outside of the classroom. So this personal profile will consist of a few short essay questions on the application, and it will give you a chance to highlight those experiences that you have had outside of the classroom. It should be, of course, focused more on the reflection and what you've learned than the number of experiences that you've had. So with the personal profile, again, it's your chance to let us know, like, who are you outside of the classroom? So if you've ever volunteered, if you have leadership opportunities, if you pursued leadership opportunities, if you are involved in your community, are you a caregiver? For example, all of those experiences, we'd love to hear about that, because when we're looking at admissions, it is a holistic admissions process where we look at you as a whole, not just your grades, but also who you are outside the classroom as well. We do have a website online, which will highlight exactly what questions you need to answer about on the personal profile. And I know our central undergraduate admissions and recruitment teams also host virtual application workshops. The next one, I'll have it on a later slide as well, is happening next week. Highly encourage you to join those if you're looking for some to learn about some best practices about filling out that personal profile. Now, to begin your application, you can find the application link by going to the admission website. So this is the website where u.ubc.ca, and this is where you're going to find amazing resources for things like the admission requirements I had mentioned. Doesn't matter where you are coming from around the world. UBC is one of the most international universities here in North America, and so we receive applications from students from all over the world. So our admissions team is very well versed in assessing students. Doesn't matter which curriculum you're coming from. We will be able to assess your application based on the curriculum that you have taken. In addition to admission requirements, this is where you'll also find resources for things like financial planning and so much more. Now, a couple of pieces of advice when you are filling, of course, your application, when you're starting your application. As I mentioned earlier, I encourage you to start early and take your time. Make sure you let the online application guide you. Make sure you read those instructions very clearly and you fill out the application based on what they need. Also tell us your full academic history. So whichever schools you've attended, make sure you list those on the application. So that brings me to my next point, making sure you're accurate in the information you provide on your application. And when you are applying, use an email address that you check frequently, because as I mentioned earlier, if we're missing anything, our admissions team will be able to reach out to you to get that information. And the last piece of advice is note your UBC student number. If you are reaching out to any of our admissions teams, please also include your UBC student number so we can locate your application as soon as possible. So when you are applying and submitting your application, you are able to select two choices on your application. This could mean choosing the Bachelor of Applied Science degree. So that is the degree name for engineering at UBC. Other schools may call it different names, but here at UBC, we call it the Faculty of Applied Science. So you can apply if you're dead set on coming to UBC for engineering. Of course, you can use both choices for both campuses. So here on the screen, for example, we have UBC Okanagan as a first choice, and then UBC Vancouver as a second choice. Of course, we do encourage you to select the campus that you intend on finishing your degree as at first. So whichever campus you prefer, definitely select that first, and then the other one, you can put that as your second choice. But also, if you are considering other degrees, maybe you do have an interest in arts or science, you can also, of course, kind of pick and choose which program choices you want those to be listed at. Now, after you submit your application, be sure to keep an eye on your email, as our admissions team will tell you exactly what you need to submit and the deadline to submit those by. So for example, if we require additional documents such as transcripts, you should be prepared to have those arranged to be sent directly to UBC if requested to do so. Again, more instructions on how we want those submitted will be communicated to you if we require those. Now, for international applicants, you may also be asked to provide an English language competency. So I had briefly mentioned that a bit earlier. If you are required to submit that, the deadline to submit this is February 15th. Now, UBC does accept most major English language test results. So things like from Yale, from Cambridge. I know most popular will probably be IELTS or TOEFL. We do accept those major tests. For more information, you can visit our English language competency website, and I'll include that in a link in the chat later on. So that's a brief overview of what the application would look like. Now let's turn it over to what will your degree cost you? Of course, university is an investment in yourself, and so making sure you're familiar with how much you're investing in yourself is going to be important as well. So at UBC, we do have a first-year cost calculator. And again, that's something that you can find off on u.ubc.ca. And this is the best way to determine how much your first year will cost you. This cost calculator will take into consideration things like tuition, books and supplies, if you're planning to live on campus, on residence, or off campus. This will give you an idea of the cost. It will let you know and help you plan. Tuition in upper years will be very similar and is based off of the number of courses that you're taking. So depending on how many courses you'll take, the cost will vary slightly from year to year. Other costs to consider, I had mentioned housing already, things like meal plans, like what are you going to eat, maybe hobbies or other activities that you might want to get engaged in. Other things like your cell phone bill, internet, laptops. Those are other things that you should be considering when you are planning for tuition. Now, speaking about tuition, of course, UBC also has some fantastic financial support options available for students. So listed there are some of the links which you can find out some more best practices on how you can fund your studies as well. So those are, again, available through u.ubc.ca. Speaking of funding your tuition, of course, UBC does offer scholarships and awards for our students as well. Specifically for our international student audience, UBC last year provided over $35 million in scholarship monies. And 108 countries were represented among award recipients. So on the screen are just a few examples of awards that you can look forward to. Now, most major scholarship decisions will be made between mid-March to the end of April. So that could be around the same time that you would expect to receive an offer of admission. I also encourage you to take a look at external scholarships as well. There are a lot of external scholarship programs that you can look into. Here in Canada, we have a website resource, for example, called Scholarships Canada, where students can do some research on scholarships. So I encourage you to take a look at your local scholarship programs to see what might be available for you. Other ways our students may also be able to help fund their education will include things like maybe working on campus. So we have work-learn programs where students are able to work on campus, and it's a great paid work experience. So they could be working in a professional setting, like, for example, maybe they could be helping out in our marketing and recruitment teams. Or you could maybe even take up a research position in a research lab. So there are many opportunities for students to work right here on campus. And of course, another way to do that is also through co-op, which Kyle had already mentioned. Again, co-op is another great way to be able to apply your learning and also get paid while you're doing that. So there, of course, there are a lot of different factors that you may be considering when selecting a university. And again, here are some additional financial planning resources that you can take a look at. Again, most of these are available through u.ubc.ca. So I encourage you to take a look at those resources. If you do have more financial planning questions, of course, our teams are ready to help you on u.ubc.ca. If you find the Contact Us button, there will be listed on that website. There will be additional ways to connect with us through there, whether it be by email or through a contact form. So when you're thinking about costs, I had mentioned about housing. So you might have some questions about, like, what are some of the options available at UBC? So UBC does offer a first-year residence guarantee at both campuses, so as long as you apply before May 1st. So these are available for incoming first-year students directly from high school, and of course, you meet all the base criteria requirements. So most first-year students will apply for the winter session residence session, and that will be run from September through April. You can apply to residence right after you complete your application to UBC, or you can follow, of course, the instructions on the different housing websites and apply by May 1st. So if you're thinking about residence in Vancouver, we do have two main types of residences. I mentioned already the winter session that offers housing from September to April. That's the main option for first-year students. We do have some year-round residences, so that's a year-long contract. That's primarily available for upper year students. At the Okanagan, fairly similar as well. There are two main types of residence. Again, the winter session that runs from September to April for both incoming and returning students, and summer residences, where students can apply for either the summer stay through, so end of April to late August, if they have a current residence contract and want to stay over the summer or summer housing period. So again, more information available on our housing websites, both depending on which campus that you're going to. Definitely take a look at that and see what are the options available there. All right, so we've shared a lot of information with you. So to kind of wrap it up and kind of list additional ways that you can stay connected with us, here are a few resources that you can take a look at. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the UBC engineering experience, you are able to ask those questions, direct those questions to maybe a current UBC engineering student through our Chat with a Student Ambassador program. So that's found on our engineering.ubc.ca website. So we have students representing both campuses and different engineering programs. So it's a great way if you're interested in learning what life is like as a UBC student. If you don't want to send those messages directly to our student ambassadors, you can also check out Engineering Stories. So Engineering Stories, we have a team of creators here, and they are posting about the UBC engineering experience across all major social media platforms. You're going to meet Juliana and Rosine in just a second. Juliana is one of our creators on there, so you can definitely see some of the content that she's created on those websites. Additional information. So earlier I had mentioned some of the some workshops that you might be interested in. So if you're interested in learning some best practices about how best to fill out and complete your personal profile, I do invite you to sign up for the next virtual UBC application workshop. The next one is happening next week on November 28th, and that will be happening from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you do the conversion to your local time zone is 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Of course, you can also check us out. If you're not able to visit us in person, we do have virtual campus tour options available for you. So of course, these options, the virtual tours are going to be available year round, of course, and then we also have our live campus tours if you are available to visit us on campus. And again, if you have more details or more questions about that, go to u.ubc.ca on the events page, and you'll see all of the upcoming events. So that is the main kind of presentation portion I have for you here today. Now I'm going to bring on our students. I have Juliana and Rosine who will join us. Juliana is a current student, a second year from environmental engineering. Juliana, you want to come on and say a quick hello?
Hello, everyone. My name is Juliana. I'm from Colombia, and I'm currently at the Vancouver campus studying environmental engineering. Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks so much, Juliana. And we have a second student, and here is Rosine. Rosine, you want to come on and say a quick hello as well?
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosine. I'm a third year civil engineering on the Okanagan campus, and I'm originally from Rwanda, East Africa. Nice to meet you all.
Amazing. So Q&A is open. So I see, thank you team on the back end for helping answer some of the questions that would come in while I was presenting. But if you have any questions for our current students, I invite you to submit those questions. I think the easiest way would be to submit them through the Q&A, just so they're queued up, and we'll try to get to them as many as possible. Now, while we're waiting, as these questions come in, of course, I have some questions for our students as well. So my first question to you is, as an international student, right? You may have been looking and researching universities from all around the world. So there's so many different options that you can choose from. My question is, why did you choose Canada? And specifically, why did you choose UBC? Who wants to go first? Juliana or Rosine?
I can
Juliana, I see you
start.
unmuted. Okay, amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So personally, UBC was always my top choice. So I got to know UBC around like grade 10 by its rankings, definitely not gonna lie there. But then I started researching about it, and I wanted a university that was gonna allow me to be balanced. I love the balanced life. I love to dance. So I wanted a university that was going to allow me to pursue a career in environmental engineering, but also dance and build a community, right? We're so far from home that we need to find that community. So I wanted to make sure that I was choosing a university that was going to allow me to build this community. UBC has so many different clubs. I think Franco and Cal already presented this, but I think just for dance, there's over 10 dance clubs that you can join and over 20 design teams. So if any of that speaks to you, I would invite you to like go research. There's like social media about every single club. Um, but yeah, pretty much clubs and rankings was what made my decision easier. And also the campus. The UBC Vancouver campus is so beautiful. Especially coming from a South American country, I do not have seasons, so I had never seen snow before. So it was my first time seeing snow, and I was so happy about it. Um, but yeah, every season is so beautiful here. You get such a beautiful campus, and yeah, that was why I chose UBC.
I think, Juliana, your experience of seeing, so I didn't grow up in British Columbia or on the coast of an ocean. So I think your experience of seeing snow for the first time is equivalent to me like seeing the ocean for the first time and touching salt water. Like I think that was probably the equivalent, right? Rosine, over to you. Why did you choose Canada and specifically why UBC?
Yeah, I think they talked about like the ranking. It's like UBC sells itself. Yeah, but the main reason for me, I applied for international scholars program. That was like a big achievement that I think like the first one over my life in academics. Yeah, so I got the International Impact Award, which didn't allow me to think like for other options because I was like, yeah, I'm going there. Other than that, the rest I came, it was my first time in Canada, my first time out of my country actually. So it was a great experience. And I came to love UBC Okanagan specifically because of its small community. Like you get to feel that presence of other people and you get to connect with other people like more easily compared to Vancouver campus because Vancouver is a very big campus. Yeah, so yeah, I chose UBC Okanagan for its small community and slightly easy access to campus resources compared to Vancouver. Um, and and the award I received from the International Scholars Program.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, I think there's a question that I believe it could be a great question for our current students to answer. How are your courses? So I think there was a question. Let me just find it up. Let me just pull it up from here. Um, a question from one of our guests. What are your courses like? Are they inspiring? Are they boring? Are they challenging or too challenging? Can you comment on that? Maybe let's think about the first year courses because I think that's what a lot of the students are probably have their mind on right now, especially for the foundational first year. Everyone's going through that experience. Could you talk a little bit about what your first year courses look like?
Yeah, well, as a second year student, I just finished first year in the Vancouver campus. There's like some slight changes, so it's worth like noting that. Um, but first year courses are it's a lot. Like you're taking a lot of credits, but it's meant to prepare you for what is coming. So just be mindful, it's going to be a lot of like math, physics, chemistry, stuff that you would think an engineering degree would take. So there's not a lot of like um ways to customize it or um take something from environmental engineering specific or civil engineering specific. That comes more in second year. So it may be that your second year courses are going to be more interesting to you because it's the program you chose. But in first year, you do get, apart from mathematics, physics, chemistry, you do get AppSci 100 and AppSci 101, which are like your engineering 100 courses. So it's like your first encounter to what engineering is and what can you do as an engineer. It's a really cool course because you take it in a group. So you're assigned to a group for each term, and you're tasked to do projects. So the first project is actually a cardboard chair. So you're building a cardboard chair and you're testing it. They're gonna throw like heavy weights onto it to see if it can withstand it, and that's how you get graded. But it's really fun. Like you get to work in a group, you meet new people. So definitely there's gonna be some courses that are hard and are challenging, but they're meant to prepare you for those second year courses that are gonna be more towards what you want. But you can also choose an elective. Most people take their humanities elective in first year if you don't have transfer credits. So that's also a way you could customize your courses and make them look a bit more towards where you want. But yeah, that sums it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Juliana. Yeah, definitely that cardboard chair is it's like a rite of passage for all UBC Vancouver students. Rosine, can you share a little bit about kind of some of the courses from the Okanagan campus?
Yeah, as she said, like first year courses, they are foundational courses, so it's a bit of everything that you get to learn as an engineer. So for non-design courses, they're usually kind of like a revision of like, or somewhat a continuation of what you did in high school, because most of engineers, they basically have like mathematics, like pre-calculus foundation. So calculus one won't take you much time. If you did pre-calculus, it would be kind of like a slight continuation, and then a little bit of extension of chemistry, like those foundational courses. And then for design, for me, it was my first time doing like computer aided designs and stuff. So I found myself spending more time on the courses that I'm taking for like actual first time other than the ones I'm continuing. So yeah, and because like design courses, as she said, it's a group effort, so it's more fun because you get to do stuff and then you see other groups, and then like you have a support system to help you out. Yeah. And for Vancouver, they said the chair design. For us, we did a Titanic boat. We designed Titanic. So like, and putting all the decks, it was very fun activity to do, like in your first year, and you already getting into designing the decks and engines and everything in there. Yeah, so it was a very fun activity. I loved my group. I loved my first year. Yeah, and another thing about the first year, sometimes because it's the learning pace is different from from high school, it might be like the pace might not work for you well, but there was always resources to help you out, like learning hub, office hours with like professors, so you don't fall behind or you don't feel like you're not achieving your academic goals.
That's a great point, Rosine. Like making sure you know where your support resources are at. I think uh, sometimes universities have this kind of perception or impression that it's a very cut and dry place, but that's not the case, right? Like, especially here at UBC Engineering, at both campuses, tons of resources for you to take advantage of. I know, for example, here at the Vancouver campus, our Engineering Undergraduate Society, which is like the student council for UBC Engineering, they will host study sessions, right, for students. So you are able to get support, and you're not just going through this journey alone, right? You have an entire community here to support you. I'm just going to get to one of the live questions I had marked live earlier. So Arda, thank you for your well wishes from Turkey. So for the recording of the session, we will have this available on our YouTube channel, so UBC Engineering. So if you want to revisit this this recording and this session, we will have that ready for you. So it will be on our UBC Engineering page by next week. Ooh, another question that I got from our students. So a little bit about the kind of the courses and whatnot. We have a guest who's interested in your daily routine as a UBC student. So how many days a week are you on campus? Maybe how many hours are you in class? So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, in first year, if there's like first year residents, so you'll probably be on campus every single day if you decide to have that residence. Um, but I do know a few commuter students. However, the engineering program is like you have a lot of courses. You're pursuing a professional degree. So we do have classes from Mondays to Fridays. Um, the hours might change a little bit depending on your like schedule. For me, right now, my first class is at 10, so I can sleep in, which I love. And I end around 4 p.m., but I have a big break for lunch. So that's my Fridays though. Tuesdays I start at 9:30 and then at 12:30. So it really depends. It shifts. First year, my first term was really light. I had a bunch of like IB transfer credits. So I only did 4 classes. So there was days where I only had 1 class. And I was gonna have 2 or maximum 3. So it really depends on like your transfer credits and in second year which engineering program you decide on. But it's usually gonna be a mix of like morning and maybe 1 or 2 afternoon classes. But yeah, that's basically how it goes.
Rosine.
Yeah, in my first year, I was taking 6 classes per term. So like the schedule was spread throughout the week, Monday to Friday. Usually like I had morning classes and then a big break, and then I have like one last class in the evening. So, and I lived on campus as well. So it wasn't that, yeah, I wouldn't say I was on campus this time. I was on campus 24/7, not 24/7 because, yeah, of course, sometimes you have to go somewhere and explore Kelowna. Yeah, but I was, most of the time I was on campus. And for the course load, I wouldn't say it was little or a lot. Yeah, of course, it's like kind of a lot, but living on campus in your first year is even amazing because you get like sometimes when you're home, like you save that commuting time to campus, then you can do something else like a tutorial. And in first year, I had like each class had tutorials, and I had like many labs compared to now. So those also feed in the timetable because in the first year they're trying to like to make you a strong foundation, I guess. Yeah, so you had a bunch of tutorials and labs, but then it gets light in your upper year where you have like just courses and a little bit of tutorials. Yeah, like right now on Friday I only have 1 class and that's all for the day. Yeah, so it gets light.
It varies. So overall, I think to sum it up from Juliana and Rosina, it really varies. I think the beautiful thing about studying university as well is you do have some options to customize your timetable, right? Especially if you're coming from high school, maybe you're very accustomed to that set routine, right? Maybe you're in class from 8:30 to 3 o'clock every single day. At university, it will look a little bit different, right? Classes can start at various times, but you do have that flexibility to be able to move around your schedule. Maybe there's that same class is offered at a different time. You have that ability to customize that a little bit. All right, I'm looking at the time and we have about a minute left on our session. So, oh, there was a similar question in the Q&A about what were your schedules like? Did you have a tight schedule or was it more free? Hopefully that answered your question as well about how the makeup of our engineering student schedules will look like. I guess maybe one last question and for our students before we wrap up today. Really quickly, in 30 seconds or less, if you can answer, how did you decide on your specialization, right? Like going from your general first year, how did you decide that you want to do environmental? Or for Rosine, how did you decide you wanted to do civil? Was it something that you knew from the start? If you somehow condense that into 30 seconds. Who wants to go first?
I personally always liked the sciences, so I really enjoyed chemistry, biology, and physics. And I found environmental science, and that's what I was going to pursue. But then I found environmental engineering was something that I liked, and that's why I came to UBC because of the environmental engineering program. So I technically already knew, but the foundational first year allows you to explore everything a little bit. So if you're not sure, you can talk to the professors or go to the different like talks that every program does, and that's definitely something that can help you too.
Awesome, Rosine.
Yeah, like say, for me, I was into mechanical engineering when I came here. Like even my application, if you read it, you'll be like, "Oh, this guy is into mechanical engineering." Yeah, but when I did the foundational program, like in my first year, it kind of changed my perspective on the mechanical engineering. Yeah, because I didn't feel drawn to some of the courses which are mechanical based, like statics and like other mechanical based courses. And I also wasn't drawn too much into like something like electromagnetism stuff. So I was like, no, these are not my stuff. So I went for civil and I'm loving it so far.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us here today. I know you have some very busy schedules, so I appreciate you spending the time with us here. This brings an end our session here today. So thank you again. Thank you to our students. Thank you, Kyle and Anna, who've been on the back end diligently answering everyone's questions. If you have more questions, here's a slide for some additional resources. Again, you can visit our u.ubc.ca website. This is where you'll find all the resources about our admission requirements, about tuition and cost calculators, residence, all that stuff is available there. If you're interested in learning more about our engineering programs at both campuses, you see both of the websites listed there. Those are the second, third, and even fourth link over there. Engineering Stories is listed there as well. And then at the bottom of the slide, you'll see both of our emails. If you have any further questions, if you have some questions that you think of, like, oh, I didn't get a chance to ask that, feel free to send that to us by email, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So I think that's it. Any final things from anybody? I think we're okay. Thank you everyone for joining us here, and all the best with your applications, and we hope to see you on campus very soon. Take care, everyone.